Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Beyond Populism. This is an online lecture and discussion series organized by the Finnish Cultural and Academic Institutes. My name is Ulla Neitola, and I've had the pleasure to be arranging this series since the beginning. This episode is the first one to start our autumn season. A few words about the series itself. Beyond Populism enters into the role of researchers and institutes as producers of research information in the era of populism. One of the basic tasks of research is social interaction, which is carried out by the researchers and research institutions by popularizing their results. Beyond Populism is an online lecture and discussion series on research information and populism in which significant researchers and influencers working in the fields of science and culture from Finland and abroad are consulted as experts. The series is part of the events of Year of Research-Based Knowledge 2021. This event is the fifth in the 9-part series, and it is hosted by the Finnish Institute in Japan. The focus today is on Mr. Taishi Watanabe, Associate Professor in the Department of Architecture at Waseda University in Tokyo, who lectures under topic National Policy and Japanese Architecture. There will be time for discussion at the end of the event. I would remind you that you keep your microphones closed during the lecture. The chat will be open throughout the event, that you can write your questions there if you wish. This lecture will be recorded, and the recording will be available on our YouTube channel for the next 14 days after the lecture. Next, I would like to give the stage to the director of the Finnish Institute in Japan, Anna-Maria Viljanen. Ami, you are welcome.
Thank you, Ulla. Good afternoon to Helsinki. Good evening to Tokyo. My name is Anna-Maria Viljanen, and I'm the director of the Finnish Institute in Japan here in Tokyo. And today, it gives me a great pleasure to introduce to you our lecture of today. As Ulla already said, Mr. Taishi Watanabe is Associate Professor of the Department of Architecture at the Waseda University. He holds a doctor's degree in engineering and is also a licensed architect in Japan. He is also the founder of the Taishi Watanabe Laboratory Architectural Office and has been visiting researcher at the Aalto University in Finland. And one more thing, the Finnish Institute in Japan and Mr. Taishi Watanabe will start our common research about the Finnish artist houses and also the phenomenon called sanso, so stay tuned for that. But now, without any further ado, I give the Zoom to Mr. Taishi Watanabe. The floor is yours. Thank you.
So hello, everyone. Firstly, I'd like to thank you to Ms. Anna-Maria to invite me to this very marvelous conversation by the Finnish Cultural and Academic Institute. And then I also would like to say that thank you for all of the audience to come here and to listen my lecture. And then it's quite honorable for me to talk about today's theme along with Beyond Populism, National Policy and Japanese Architecture. Actually, it's quite very sensitive topic for Japanese people to talk about the national policy and then how it is reflected to the architecture, especially in the expression of the design. So that's why I'm also a little bit thrilling today, but I will do my best. So Anna-Maria, next please. So I set my story against the requirement by the Ms. Anna-Maria, Japanese architecture as national policy. And then changing the meaning of the symbol and the ritual reflect to architecture. Next, please. So actually, it's a quite ambitious topic, how to consider about the methodology to go beyond the populism. And they are quite a wide field, of course, not only the architecture, but also other any creative field. And then that's why I think that there are so many ways to answer or the way to or through the philosophy or the thinking to the this topic beyond populism. But today it's just only almost 1 hour to talk. That's why I'm thinking to answer against this very huge, ambitious topic by talking about Japanese modernity, by not economy, but ritual. Next, please. Actually, I hope that so many audience also saw this situation in this summer, just almost 3 weeks ago, that this is the opening declaration of the Tokyo Olympic Games in 2021. And then at that moment, the person who is standing in the center is our Japanese emperor, active emperor, Hirohito. And then the person who is standing next right side of the emperor, he is our prime minister. And then the last female person standing right side of the prime minister is Tokyo City mayor. And then maybe I guess all people in the world saw the Japanese emperor declared the opening of the Olympic Games. And then I would like to tell you the meaning why emperor declared the opening of the Olympic Games as a national strategy or the national attitude, not by prime minister or Tokyo City mayor. Because such kind of the things is quite important for any creative artist or the architect to consider about the its design related with the national policy. Because especially for the architect, it's quite difficult to avoid to consider about the meaning of the symbolical emperor system with considering the design, how to have the attitude against such kind of the things to express the national policy through their own design. Next, please. So this is my result of this lecture, especially for Japan or the Japanese architecture as a national policy, the symbol is emptiness. This is because we Japanese don't have the culture of the ruin with melancholia like European people with the ruin of the cities. So that's why the symbol cannot be monumental because we don't have any ruins as physical things. So that's why we need to consider how to remain the symbolism without using physical things as monument. At that moment, the sense of the emptiness was considered to be the central idea how to consider about expression of the national policy through their own architectural design. Next, please. Unfortunately, this kind of the things was not suggested by Japanese own. And then he is Roland Barthes, the French philosopher and then symbolist that came to Japan in 1960s. And then he wrote one book, Emperor of the, Empire of the Signs. And then he wrote down the center of the Tokyo is void. Next, please. So this is a picture from the sky of the picture of the center of the Tokyo. And then there is the Imperial Palace in the center of the Tokyo. And then how to approach the concept of Japanese monarchy has been one of the most important issues to express the structure of a nation in Japanese national history. Because in the center of the Tokyo, there is the Imperial Palace, but at the same moment, the definition of emperor is a symbol of Japanese people. And then in addition to that, traditionally, the concept of the symbol of emperor is emptiness. Step by step, I want to introduce the history of such kind of the culture from now. Next, please. To express such kind of concept as a symbol of emptiness, we architects cannot allow to use the monumental things as a physical one, like ruin. And then instead of that one, there was a necessity of the ritual to express the concept of emptiness. Next, please. This is it's a Shinto Shrine. This is the oldest history of Japanese Shinto Shrine in Japan, all over Japan. So that this is the origin of the tradition and the history of Japanese emperor. And then the Ise, this is a Ise Shinto Shrine. And then at the same moment, we have the traditional ritual in every 20 years. That is a ritual to move the god from right side to left side in 20 years. And then after 20 years passed, we also used to move the god from left side to right side. So actually, historically, the Ise is the oldest Shinto shrine in Japan. But physically, the facility of the Ise is just modern or contemporary architecture built in only 20 years. So this is a little bit unique mechanism to remain the symbol without using physical contents. Next, please. This is a photo of same Ise after the ritual was finished. As you see now already the god of Ise was moved from right side to the left side with the new Shinto Shrine facilities. And then instead of that one, for 20 years, right side will be existed as a vacant space. There's nothing. So that this is already the one of the expression, and then the origin of the expression of the symbolic as emptiness. Next one, please. So this is a traditional Japanese painting to record how the ritual to move the god of Ise. And then you can see the left bottom side of this picture. So many people hang the white curtains to hide inside. Actually, this inside of this white curtain, that we all believe that there is a god of this Ise, but nobody can see inside. It's not allowed. So to hide the most sanctuary one is one of the most important points of the hidden ritual. Nobody was allowed to see inside or as a physical monument as a god. Next, please. So nowadays, as a sightseeing, the Ise Shinto Shrine is one of the most popular courses for foreign people or Japanese people for sightseeing trip. But if you will go visit Ise Shinto Shrine, maybe nobody can be allowed to see inside. I saw the picture from the sky, and then it seemed to me, even if I am Japanese. That's why I draw this drawing by myself by seeing the picture and then the book. And then, of course, I have never seen inside of this Shinto shrine of the Ise, but this is my guess. Maybe nothing is inside. Perhaps only a mirror. Next, please. The reason why I guess so is the god of Ise is the god of sun. And then maybe she is a female god, Amaterasu. The meaning of the Amaterasu is brightening the world. So the mirror or the emptiness, both of them are the one kind of the metaphor of the light. So and then in the Japanese oldest mythology, like Kalevara for Finnish people, Japanese emperor is described descendant of her in the mythology that we call Kojiki. So now you can see the female god in the center of this picture with some bright, some kind of like a Japanese cartoon. So physically, we interpret the god of sun as a female god, but as the expression of the design, this concept is expressed as a mirror or complete emptiness. Next, please. He is the main character I am introduced as a first national Japanese modern architect. His name is Kenzo Tange. Maybe some audience who has a specialty about architecture knows his name so much. And then as a modern design, I guess that he is the first national architect. And then at the same moment, he is the only one national architect as a Japanese modern architect. So the backside of his face on the picture now, you can see the one of the famous architecture designed by him. That is a facility of the city headquarters of Takamatsu in Kagawa Prefecture, north side of Japan. He tried to translate Japanese modern sensitive structure made by wood to made by concrete as a modern architecture. And then next, please. As I told you, almost of national Japanese architect or the architect who want to be very deep in design related with nationality or the identity of the folklore, it's quite difficult to avoid to consider about the conception or the definition of the symbolic emperor system as a national emblem of Japan. And then it's, of course, same to Kenzo Tange. And then this graphic is actual debut for Kenzo Tange. It's in 1942, I mean, before World War II. This is a first proposal to let him very famous in Japan. This is a proposal for the Great East Asia Memorial competition by Kenzo Tange in 1942. And then as you can see, on the left side of this picture, it's a little not clear, I'm sorry, because it's a very old material. There is a form of the Mount Fuji. Maybe you can see the monument of the Saint Fire of Tokyo Olympic Games in this summer looks like a figure of the Mount Fuji. So Mount Fuji is just only one physical monumental icon as a symbol, because we don't have any culture of the ruin. Of course, mountain is not ruin, it's just nature. But instead of the architecture, ruin of the architecture or the cities, the Kenzo Tange tried to use Mount Fuji as a first monument to express the national policy. And then he loved so much to use the methodology of the axis. The methodology of the axis in the architecture field needs monumental one as a physical one. Otherwise, nobody can understand where is the axis. Axis needs the monument. And then instead of that one, you can see the several facilities in the right side of this picture. Next, please. This is a plan of the, his proposal for this competition. And then he tried to translate the plan of the Ise as a modernized one for the facilities to memorial Japanese identity and then the political hegemony against the other Asian countries, especially against for European countries and then USA. So that's why Japanese government before World War II asked Kenzo Tange use a copy of the Ise. And then that means the conception of the emptiness. But of course, emptiness, the conception of the emptiness itself cannot be the objection of the axis itself, because it's not physical one. Nobody can see the emptiness. Nobody can touch the emptiness itself. That's why in this phase, the Kenzo Tange needed the as a physical monument Mount Fuji. So the in the among the each facilities in the center of this copy of the Ise plan, there is access from right side to left side in this graphic, and then the vector from right side to left side leads to Mount Fuji on last picture. Next, please. Like this, Kenzo Tange's most strong design was axis. But the axis needs a monument. And then we have had no culture of the monument like ruin. And the meaning of the symbol also had changed after World War II. So the phase I introduced now about the first original inspiration by Kenzo Tange against axis. It's a still old style of the axis needs the monument like traditional European one. But of course, before modern age, we Japanese don't have the culture of the ruin. That means we don't have the culture of the monument as a physical one. So Kenzo Tange also needs next strategy to update his idea of the axis, which can be used to express the symbol of nation or Japan by using the methodology of the axis as architecture. Next, please. One of the most impressive accident, or I'm sorry, how to say in English exactly, that was Hiroshima that was attacked by atomic bomb by USA in the World War II. And then we, Japan, surrendered against Europe and the USA. And then on the right side picture, here is Mr. Douglas MacArthur, who is head of the temporal government to occupy Japan after World War II. And then actually he imported American-style democracy from USA to Japan after World War II. And then the most important thing that he had to do was to let Japanese people rewrite Japanese constitution. And then, of course, the first thing how to rewrite Japanese constitution is how to write the definition of Japanese emperor. Actually, we have over over 1,000 years tradition about the Japanese emperor system. But depending on the age, the definition or the meaning of the emperor have updated because of that age's political background. And then in this time, that also was done. And then until nowadays, the definition of the emperor, which was updated at this moment, is most important, some kind of the like a bone to define what Japanese people are. Next one. So to express that one as a national architect, the Kenzo Tange also had to update the meaning of the axis and then the concept of the axis. And then this is the first representative trial by Kenzo Tange was to design Hiroshima Peace Center and Memorial Park in 1955. So actually already 10 years passed after the finishing of World War II. And then he designed this kind of the facilities as a peace center. And then this is like a symmetry figure with the axis go through in the center of this facility. Next, please. This is a picture from the sky. Now you can understand in the center of this picture from the facility towards to the first ruin in Japan, which was occurred by attacking of atomic bomb by USA Army. So this time the Kenzo Tange had a first monument as a physical monument as a ruin instead of the European ruin, but it's a very modern one. So the Kenzo Tange, for Kenzo Tange, even if the symbol of Japan, meaning of the symbol of Japan has changed by the experience to be defeated in the war, the way of the axis still continues for him as architect. Next, please. This is the process of the master plan, how Kenzo Tange designed. And then now you can see he designed the one architecture not as a facility anymore. He designed the architecture as a territory with a very strong access from bottom side to upper side on this picture. And then you can see as a phase 4, you can understand from the facility toward to the first ruin occurred by attacking atomic bombs. There is an axis. Next one, please. So this is a real picture from the sky we can see nowadays in Hiroshima. So the including this summer, we all Japanese people have the memorial ritual as a ceremony every year in exact day, 6th August. that we are praying for the all of victims attacked by atomic bomb. Next, please. This is a special scenery Kenzo Tange designed at this moment. And then now you can see also some kind of the monument in the center of this picture toward to the ruin destroyed by atomic bomb. This is original idea was also designed by Isamu Noguchi, who is a very famous sculpture designer, artist, the mixed blood, with mixed blood, Japan and USA. But finally, the Kenzo Tange continued his first idea, and then this sculpture was designed by Kenzo Tange himself. Next one, please. So through this kind of the process, the Kenzo Tange updated step by step his design methodology of the axis. And then finally, as a final phase of the updating the methodology of the axis, he tried to get the access to the emptiness. And then, as I told you today, the concept of the emptiness means the symbol of the symbolic emperor system instead of the monument ruin. So we cannot touch the symbol itself. We cannot see physically the symbol itself, but we can believe something is there. Such kind of a sense is involved in the symbolic imperial system originally. Next, please. And then after designing the Hiroshima Peace Center in 1955, he tried to show this new conception as a different kind of the axis methodology as a updated modern architecture. This is called Tokyo Project 1960 because this was made in 1960. So now you can see the several facilities as one united city expanded from the center of Tokyo. And then now you can understand there is an Imperial Palace in the center of Tokyo. So from the center of the Tokyo to the Tokyo Bay, there is a one axis. And then the objection of this axis itself is the Imperial Palace, that which can be interpreted as an emptiness. Next, please. So to show the emptiness as a physical monument, we have needed the ritual instead of the monument as a ruin. Because if we, with showing only the master plan, like Tokyo project in 1960s, Kenzo Tange had done, for ordinary people, it's quite difficult to understand the concept of the emptiness, right? That's why to let all Japanese people not understand, but feel the concept of the emptiness as a symbolic emperor system itself, the Japanese government had to show something as a visual one. And then to do so, the tradition of the ritual is most effective for both Japanese government and Japanese people to share the concept. Next one, please. Actually, only just 2 years ago, there we also had the latest ritual done by active emperor Hirohito. The emperor, this emperor, you can see on the left picture, is the same emperor who had the declaration of the opening of the Tokyo Olympic Games in this summer. And then he became a Japanese emperor just 2 years ago. And then this is a very special ritual, which is called in Japanese, Daijou Sai. And then this is a very special ritual because all of Japanese emperor in the history could have only one time this, could have this ritual only one time for himself when he has become a new emperor. And then at that moment, for doing this ritual, we Japanese used to build the temporary architecture. Now you can see on the right side picture. And then this is also was built in 2019 for Emperor Hirohito to share. He became the next emperor with all of Japanese people. And then now you can see the design of this temporary architecture quite similar with the design of Ise, and then the design of the proposal made by Kenzo Tange as his first try to express the methodology of the axis. Now you can see the complete similar facility in the center of this temporary architecture to hold the very special ritual to let next emperor as a new emperor. Next, please. And then Kenzo Tange also used to have the same concept and then try to involve this idea to express how this idea of the axis was already updated can be toward to the conception of the emptiness without using physical monument anymore. Next, please. Next, please. Sorry, please go back to the previous one. Okay, and then now you can see the Japanese traditional style with very big roof. So Kenzo Tange also designed all of the facilities of this modernized city with a big roof. Next one, please. Yeah. Actually, this is the same opening declaration of Tokyo Olympic Games, but it was held in 1964. So at this moment, the Japanese emperor also had a declaration of opening of Tokyo Olympic Games, as well as in this year. And then he was Japanese Emperor Akihito. And then he is a grandfather of active emperor. And then he declared the opening of Tokyo Olympic Games in 1964. I mean, he is just only one emperor. We can see physically the conception of the emperor was updated before and after World War II. Before World War II, the emperor himself can be the one physical monument as like god of sun. But after World War II, the USA or the temporary government to occupy Japan asked the Japanese government and the people to update the conception of the emperor not as a physical monument anymore, because such kind of the philosophy is easy to reach to the emotion of nationalism. So USA government wanted to deny such kind of the possibility. So that's why as a first sentence of the new constitution, we need to write the definition of the symbolic emperor system. That he is a symbol of Japanese people, not monument. Next one, please. And then in the moment of the Tokyo Olympic Games in 1964, Kenzo Tange designed the main stadium, main facilities, gymnasium in Yoyogi area as a national architect. And then he had to express the Japanese nationality with using Japanese architectural style. I said big roof. So that's why this is a Yoyogi Gymnasium designed by Kenzo Tange, and then he tried to copy or translate the culture of the big roof by using most advanced technology in this age. But he still never forgets to use axis. So now you can see on this picture from the center of the gymnasium that there is access to some Shinto Shrine in the forest. That is Meiji Jingu. Next one, please. Meiji Jingu is a Shinto Shrine in the center of the Tokyo. And then the god of Meiji Jingu is a physical, how to say, physical Japanese emperor in the Meiji era. And then he is also the emperor who was updated through his physical body, the conception of the emperor in Japanese history before the Emperor Akihito in 1964. It was in 1868 as a Meiji Revolution. Actually, the person who is taken on the picture on left side and then right side is the same emperor. But he wears the traditional wear on the left side before Meiji Revolution, and then he changed his costume after Meiji Revolution as modernized icon of the nation. And then actually the design of the Kenzo Tange leads to the center of the Meiji Shinto Shrine as a national architect to express the meaning of the axis toward to the monument of the symbolic emperor system still. Next one, please. This is the Yoyogi Gymnasium designed by Kenzo Tange. Next one, please. He designed this gymnasium by using the technology to make the hanged very big bridge. And then by using this technology with tension, he tried to make the shape, outer shape of a very huge big roof as a national identity. Next one, please. This is the interior of this gymnasium. And then he tried to combine the concept of the light, because the god of the sun is a roots of emperor. So he is using the same concept as a light, but by the new or modernized element to compose architecture. Light is still very important for contemporary architecture, right? Next one, please. So actually, another concept by another architect and an artist to express national identity of Japan in the same age of Tange's axis. So in this lecture, I also try to introduce more to architect and then artist. First one is architect, Mr. Junzo Yoshimura, who made the contemporary conception as Sanso, like Miss Anna Maria introduced at the beginning of this lecture. Actually, we try to deepen this topic with Miss Anna Maria now. And then as a secondary person, I want to introduce Mr. Taro Okamoto. He is an artist or as a sculpture artist or painters. And then who discovered the Jomon, concept of Jomon. Next one, please. Junzo Yoshimura is a very famous architect because he designed nowadays Imperial Palace in 1968. Next one, please. At this moment, he tried to use the conception of sanso instead of the conception of the palace because politically, we are not allowed to interpret the emperor as a king anymore. That's why the house or the residence the Japanese emperor are living in cannot be called as a palace anymore. So for the competition for the residence of Japanese emperor in the center of the Tokyo, architect was required to propose next new concept instead of palace. And then at that moment, he tried to use the conception of the sanso. Actually, the name of the sanso itself that we have in the tradition already. So original meaning of Japanese sanso means another house in mountains. But against the conception of the pavilion in Western Europe, that he tried to use sanso without any functions. Because without any functions is quite helpful to express the emptiness, the conception of the emptiness. If we try to show the residence of the emperor as a palace, it can be monument, so that it's not allowed. So the architecture without any functions is quite useful to express the conception of the emptiness, even if it is a residence of emperor. So it's like a conception of the pavilion in modern age in the history of European architecture. But we don't have a pavilion in this age. The conception of the pavilion in this age. Next one, please. This is a sanso in Karuizawa he designed in 1962. Actually, this is already the year after he had finished to design Imperial Palace. But it's quite easy to introduce the conception of the sanso. That's why I will show this one as a very easy example to let the foreign people understand the conception of the sanso. As I told you, as a traditional definition, sanso is a secondary house in the mountain. But at that moment, he defined the conception of the sanso with the exact strict style, architectural style. Next one, please. This is a section and the interior of the sanso he designed in Karuizawa. It's like Inari or countryside of Pori in Finland, maybe. Like that one. Environment is surrounding this house. And then on this right picture, you can see chimney, terrace. And then you can see the roof with angle in the section. Actually, these three elements, he tried to make a rule to design the definition of the sanso itself. Next one, please. And then such kind of the style is also authorized by MoMA through the Philip Johnson and then Arthur Drexler. They are very important curator of the MoMA in early 20th century. Next one, please. And then maybe I guess Junzo Yoshimura was the first Japanese modern architect which was collected by MoMA in New York. And then he was invited in 1954 to build up the Japanese sanso as a conception of the pavilion. And then to showing this kind of the concept, the conception of sanso was authorized as a conception of the pavilion for foreign people, especially for USA government. That's why it was very helpful for Junzo Yoshimura to use the conception of the sanso to propose the residence of Imperial Palace, Emperor as a new conception, which was defined in the Japanese new constitution. Next one, please. This is a real official paper of this competition. The essentials of the competition of the Imperial Palace. It was described as a facility for the official events by Emperor, and his house had to be divided. And then that means this is not palace conceptually, since Japanese emperor was not king anymore, as I told you several times in this lecture now. Next one, please. And then, please go back to the previous one. Previous one, please. Yes. Yes, this one. This is a realized Imperial Palace. Now you can see in the center of the Tokyo. And then designed by Junzo Tange. So I said the conception of the sanso can be the same quality conception as architecture as a national policy, comparing with the trials by Kenzo Tange. Next one, please. And the next methodology was proposed by not architect, but artist. But he is a very intelligent artist. He designed the Tower of the Sun for Osaka Expo in 1970s, instead of any facilities for Tokyo Olympic Games in 1964. And then Osaka is opposite city of Tokyo in Japan. Tokyo is one kind of the icon of the city which was composed national strategy, political city. Against such kind of the conception, Osaka is interpreted as a democratic city made by private money, like this kind of things. That's why it's quite understandable to make another concept against national identity, comparing with the trial in Tokyo by Kenzo Tange. And then Taro Okamoto used Osaka, and then Osaka Expo. Next one, please. He is Taro Okamoto. Now you can see the some emotional figure on the right side on this picture, right? And then the left side, the paintings drawn by Taro Okamoto himself. So he tried to share the conception for all of the Japanese people. We, Japan, has a much more active and emotional expression before the age of elaborated age. Kenzo Tange tried to translate for the contemporary architectural design. Next one, please. And then he discovered the age of Jomon, actually. This is the original meaning of Jomon, is a civilization of rope. Jo means rope. Mon means civilization or language. Next one, please. So now you can see the pot in the Jomon age and the pot in Yayoi age, which comes after Jomon age. So the pot designed in Yayoi age is more elaborated one without any decorations. But before that age, original Japanese, native Japanese has a culture with so many decoration with as a monument to design the pot. So Taro Okamoto explained, Jomon is native Japanese age before any civilization was transferred from Eurasia continent. Because his master, next one please, is Marcel Mauss and then Claude Lévi-Strauss. That's why, next one please. He tried to analyze the origin of Japanese people anthropologically. And then Taro Okamoto made a hole in Kenzo Tange's concept. Actually, the picture I showed this time as a Osaka Expo, this big roof was designed by Kenzo Tange. And then Taro Okamoto tried to make a hole in the center of this big roof to express the possibility of his concept. Next one, please. If you visit the exact venue in Osaka now, you understand only the Tower of the Sun designed by Taro Okamoto was remained, even after Tange's big roof was vanished. And then maybe you already noticed the conception, the Tower of the Sun. That is quite related to the conception of the roots of Japan, because the first god was a female god as a god of the sun. And then culture of the Ise or any other expression was translated by Kenzo Tange with elaborated one as a concept of emptiness. And then against that one, he tried to show very opposite idea to express national identity by designing the Tower of the Sun for the Osaka Expo in 1970. The opportunity of the Expo is a quite helpful opportunity to share the concept with global people. Next one, please. And then amazingly, he also designed black sun on the backside of the Tower of the Sun at that time. And then this is a very impressive picture I took. Actually, instead of the black sun, there is a Patriot missile controlled by the satellite against North Korea's attack in emergency time, when North Korea government shoot the one missile, go beyond the land of Japan, turn to the Pacific Ocean. So it's a quite some messageable thing, right? Next one, please. After these kind of the different trials, Kenzo Tange tried to get back the hegemony as a national architect in 1990s mainly by planning the World City Expo in 1996. But unfortunately, the bubble economy was broken in Japan in 1990s. That's why it was canceled finally. And then only several essence was realized at this moment. Next one, please. He still used the axis towards to the emptiness or the something we cannot see visibly. And then at this moment, information was some kind of the icon. He set the axis towards to. That's why as the gate on the axis, instead of Hiroshima Peace Center and like such kind of things, at this moment, he set the one headquarter television company, Fuji television company, which is one of the most famous TV company in Japan. So actually this one is Kenzo Tange's last work. And then even if it might be the icon of the populism, now tonight, we have to try to avoid. But even if it is so, Kenzo Tange superior the concept of the new age's concept, TV, or information which cannot be interpreted as a visible thing. It's a quite related concept like emptiness. Next one, please. That's why on the axis designed by Kenzo Tange, you can see Tokyo Tower in the center. This tower is a electric signal tower to connect each TV headquarters or something. Next one, please. And then nowadays, in this summer, to hold Tokyo Olympic Games, several urban designers try to expand Kenzo Tange's idea to design the master plan of Tokyo Olympic Games in 2020. Like this. Now you can see the axis in the center still. Next one, please. So as I told you now, especially Taro Okamoto's attitude and the Kenzo Tange's attitude is quite opposite, even if they both try to express Japanese policy through their own designs. And then now I have more 5 minutes or 10 minutes left. And then I want to introduce by my own trial on the historical context related with their both trials. Next one, please. Like an example, I showed you the Tower of the Sun and then proposal for the competition Kenzo Tange by copying Ise. Both of them actually proposed the master plan of next age of Tokyo in 1958 and then in 1960. It's almost same year. But the concept is completely opposite, like a Tower of the Sun and then the icon of emptiness. And then the left one is drawn by Taro Okamoto, much more emotional and then the aggressive. And then at that moment, he tried to translate the culture of the citizens as an entertainment. His aim to design the Tokyo city as a leisure island. So that it's a little bit different. Not a little bit, completely different as an opposite idea, Kenzo Tange's one. Kenzo Tange tried to express the concept of the tradition of the emperor system and then tried to express that one with the modern methodology as an emptiness, as an elaborated one without any emotional one or any decorations. But on the other hand, Taro Okamoto tried to show opposite one. And then in nowadays, we all Japanese people understand our all of the trial in 20th century as a modernity is a little bit limited because the amount of the people is already degrading now. So that I mean the economic size of the market is also the shrinking. And then like example in Tokyo Olympic Games in this year, nobody can have the dreamly or the visionary one with a national ceremony or rituals anymore. At that moment, there is a conception of the diversities or the sustainability, such kind of the much more democratic idea have to be taken for the future in Tokyo, especially. at that moment, the way from coming from the upper side is not good. And then the idea coming from bottom side is much more suitable to let Japanese people to share the conception. And then I think the concept by Taro Okamoto is more easy to use. Next one, please. I will be in a hurry, Anna Maria. So I had actually has one exhibition 2 years before, and then I proposed the next master plan of Tokyo. I named Obake City. Obake is one kind of the Japanese name of ghost, not phantom. And then at that moment, I tried to redesign all of the river which go through the Tokyo city as a blue infrastructure. Next one, please. This is a master plan of Tokyo. Now you can see Imperial Palace in the master plan, right? And then I also try to propose my idea against the artificial canal and then the rivers, which is connected from Imperial Palace Tower to Tokyo Bay. And the most iconic site is called Nihonbashi. Nihon means Japan. Bashi means bridge. Next one, please. This is paintings drawn by Katsushika Hokusai. Maybe some people knows that he is very famous now in the world. He tried to express the conception of the axis from Nihonbashi Tower to Edo Castle and then Mount Fuji. Edo Castle's Edo is the old name before Tokyo, like Turk against, Obo against Turk in Finland. Next one, please. So I mean, before the Imperial Palace was built in the center of the Tokyo, there was a Edo Castle as a headquarters of soldiers' culture and then soldiers' general warriors government. Next one, please. This is nowadays situation in Nihonbashi. The highway was built in the moment 1964. And then the canal was covered by artificial infrastructure. And then in this year, Tokyo Olympic Games, the Tokyo City Mayor declared to take away again this highway to reverse the urban scenery we can see in Edo era. That's why I tried to show the new proposal, how to take this highway and then redesign all of the facilities along the canal. Next, please. This is my answer. I cannot say details because of the time today. Next one, please. This is master plan of the canal itself. I designed the canal itself as a one plant of the water. Next one, please. This is a simulation and the mechanism, how to clean the water of this canal, and at the same moment, how to make the inner space of this water, big water plant can be used as a restaurant, gallery, shops, and so on, because this site is one of the most expensive land in Japan. Next one, please. This is the inner scene and the plan. Next one, please. This one is my fantasy against the future after 300 years later. Maybe even if any architect design any architecture in this site, maybe such kind of the architecture will be vanished after 300 years later. But at the same moment, the ruins will be remained and then still show some kind of the route instead of the straight axis tied to the center of the Tokyo, now which I showed you as some kind of the ghost of Edo Castle on this picture. This is such kind of the visionary story expanded from the context of Tokyo. Next one, please. And then now you can see when the ritual by emperor was held 2 years before, on the right side picture, behind the temporary architecture, the Edo Castle, there is a ruin of the Edo Castle. So the meaning of the center of the Tokyo, Edo Castle ruined behind the emperor's ritual, which is held only one time for one emperor when he became an emperor. Different historical context is overlapped with ritual, and such concept appears as a symbol of emptiness. Next one, please. And then finally, now I am writing the books to write this kind of the scenario now. And then I want to show the one project to rebuild Edo Castle in the center of the Tokyo again. So actually it's already over the time which is prepared, I guess. That's why I pass next example I want to show. So can you turn the slide step one by one? I hope I will have next opportunity to explain this architecture I designed. And then this is just last slide as an announcement. It's a completely different talking from this topic today. I will have the exhibition in Finnish embassy in Tokyo, collaborating with Miss Anna Maria, and then from 20th to 26th in September next month. So it's very honor if some audience will come to this exhibition physically, or maybe we can prepare some kind of methodology to let you join remotely. And then next year, I will also have the exhibition in Aalto University in Helsinki, and the TU Berlin in Berlin, and the Bauhaus in Weimar in Germany, by moving the same conception, unity architecture, from Finnish embassy in Japan. Thank you so much for today. And then thank you for being patient in my long lecture. And then I am sorry, it's a little bit over, maybe 5 minutes over. I'm sorry, Anna Maria. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Taishi Watanabe, for this highly inspiring lecture indeed. And after this, when you go outside here in Tokyo, you see the city in brand new eyes. I'm sure that there are many questions at this moment. Sebastian or Jenna, do you see any questions in the chat?
None so far.
Not yet.
Okay. Well, Ulla, do you have any question?
I was just raising my hand, but thank you, Anna, thank you, Taishi Watanabe, for a very interesting lecture. Yes, I do have a question. I don't know if it's highly irrelevant, but it's a question about Kenso Tange and Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park. Since the memorial, and especially Genbaku Dome, is probably one of the most widely-known memorial of World War II, and maybe the best-known memorial of any war. And it was adapted in the UNESCO World Heritage List somewhere in the 1990s, as far as I remember. But my question is that how was the, during Kenso Tange's own time, what kind of reception did he have for the memorial park? Was it like it's accepted as the uniting monument of the nation immediately, maybe something to do of the war that no one want to experience again, or did he face any criticism during the decades? Because I think that some styles of architecture, such as postmodernism, for instance, tend to produce this kind of shapes that require more and more theoretical background and or architectural education to be appreciated. for example, in Finland, not everybody even appreciates, for example, architect Alvar Aalto, that's supposed to be one of the monumental architects of our country. But how was Kenzo's case?
It's a very difficult question to answer as a one answer, actually. Maybe, for example, the story how to talk about Japanese architecture as a national policy is also will be different depending on the Japanese architect, I guess. If some Japanese people also listen today. So I'm sorry that this is my thinking, what I talking about today, and my hypothesis to let myself to how to understand the Japanese historical context through the modern architecture. And then you asked me, the Kenzo Tange's access is a quite a paradox, involves a paradox as an architect, especially the access which is used, the main concept for the Memorial Park in Hiroshima is also used for the conception of the proposal he did before World War II, I showed you today. And the ideology of the axis is completely opposite, actually. Even if it is so, he decided to continue to use the same methodology as axis as a national architect. So that's why I think he also wanted to express he was national architect to everybody in Japan, even especially for Japanese government. I think it's also his own strategy, politically and economically, as active architect. And then he didn't want to throw away his idea of the axis, because the methodology of the axis is allowed to use only for national architect, right? For example, unfortunately or fortunately, I'm not sure, I am not a national architect, maybe. So that's why if I use the methodology of the axis to design something, nobody cares about that one, right? So that's why the methodology of the axis can be allowed to use only for national architect. And then I guess Kenzo Tange didn't want to throw away that right to use axis. This is my hypothesis, why he involved such kind of the paradox in the conceptual or the theoretical phase. The ideology, which is involved in the design of his architecture is already changed, but he never changed methodology itself. And then such kind of the attitude is quite similarity, the concept of the Imperial system itself, I want to say today.
Thank you so much, Watanabe-san.
Yeah.
Thank you for this. Sorry, I have to interrupt you a bit. Are there any more questions in the chat, Sebastian or Jenna?
No, I can't see any.
Okay. Well, in that case, I would also like to ask you something still about the Kenzo Tange. So I saw here an exhibition here in Tokyo at the National Museum of Western Art, Le Corbusier. So was the Corbusier a kind of a role model for Kenzo Tange, or what would you say?
I think so. You are right. Because his diploma in bachelor school, bachelor age in the university, he wrote about Le Corbusier through writing about Michelangelo.
All right, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
So actually for Kenzo Tange, Le Corbusier is one of the most, how to say, the visionary architect. He wanted to become, visionary architect,
Okay. So, and yet another question about him. So, So was he also having a kind of projects outside of Japan?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Did Kenzo Dange also have many projects outside of Japan?
Yes, especially in the Middle Asia, Central Asia. Yeah.
Can you name a project or one of his designs so that?
I see that he also designed some architecture in Qatar, for example.
Okay.
And then he also designed the Qatar embassy in Tokyo too.
Okay.
And then he also designed, for example, the sorry, the exact some building in Paris too. But there is also another politics. Some architects say Kenzo Tange was take over from the center of Japan anymore in 1970s and then 80s.
Okay.
So it's a very sensitive. Yeah.
You mentioned also that Kenzo Tange is still today, he's a kind of course, he was a pioneer and revolutionary and also a visionary in that sense. But what about today's students at your university, for instance, at the Department of Architecture? Is he a kind of role model for today's architects, or is he some kind of controversial figure? What would you say?
Very nice question. And then actually, the last year I stayed while I stayed at the Art University as a visiting researcher for 1 year. I asked the same question to the professor at the Art University, who is the successor of Alva Art now, or such kind of things. Okay. And then we don't have any more, because we don't have any age. Such kind of the national architect is needed anymore, because all of the democracy or the capitalism already have done. That's why all architects also have to go beyond next phase. So that all of the students also try to find what kind of the possibility or the methodology they can find by themselves. The we teacher try to push such kind of attitude.
Excellent, thank you so much. Any questions now in the chat?
Yes, there's actually one. Do you view that Tange's use of axis in relation to monument or ruin was influenced from abroad?
I think Le Corbusier's influence is the most impact to Kenzo Tange.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions there?
No, not at this point.
Okay. Do our trainees from Japan, Sebastian or Jenna, do you have any questions for Watanabe-san? Well, during when you're thinking about possible questions, so I would like to also make some marketing here for Taishi Watanabe's exhibition that will take place, like it was said here in the slide, 20th to 26th of September at the Metsä Pavilion, which is still located here at the Finnish Embassy compound until the end of this year. And maybe, Watanabe-san, maybe I can also reveal something for the audience here, that you will be given an award, GFDA, and that is by the Japan-Finland Design Association for this year. So there's time for celebration already now, perhaps. So that for the information as well. And then stay tuned on our website, finstitute.gp, also in the Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, for the research that Watanabe-san mentioned here in the beginning, that will be about the Sanso and the artistic villas here in Finland, the comparison and the mechanism for the comparison, so stay tuned for that. But if there aren't any more questions, I would like to thank so much Associate Professor Taishi Watanabe for this truly inspiring lecture here. I would also like to thank Ulla Neitola and Riikka Alaharju and Tuve Ekman for all the arrangements for this lecture. And stay tuned for next lecture. So now I give the floor back to Ulla Neitola and konbanwa. Good night from Tokyo.
Thank you, Ami. Arigatou gozaimasu, Taishi Watanabe.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you all for participating, and I hope you all enjoyed. As this series of lectures, at this stage, I would promote the next episode of the Beyond Populism, which will take place on 21st of September. The session will be organized by the Finnish Institute at Athens, and it will be about Philhellenism. More information is about to come. I end this session. Thank you and have a nice evening all. Thank you.
Thank you so much.